So, the reason for this video on TikTok was just explanatory as to why people were just needling me as to why I sued FirstRand FNB for 103 million involving malicious prosecution. And they wanted an explanation, I suppose, or what the reasoning behind it was. It's quite simple. In 2012, I had numerous accounts, personal, business, and credit lines, be it credit cards, etc. And I was involved in quite a few things, be it property, be it wholesale fuel, you name it, you claim it. It was SME to the nth degree, and you needed an actual transactionary base. And FirstRand F&B was something I was familiar with, and I just arrived back from the States, and I said to myself, well, look, you know what? Let me just put my actual expertise to use here, and let's make some money. Let's live a little, and the usual grind and wind and work hard, play hard. So in 2012, I'd asked them, I said, look, my e-bucks that I'm earning presently, it's not up to the highest tier as it should be because I have numerous accounts with you. Could you look into it? They looked into it. They came back with some Porsche, like really, I don't know, like bizarre little like disclamatory response. And they said, well, there are certain irregularities on your accounts. And I said, well, whatever is irregular is only your charges you field on a monthly basis because, God, the criminal charges, they charge us in this country for bank fees. Hey, fuck. But in any case, I said, no, not a problem. Look, just let me know what's going on. No one got back to me. Actually, no one got back to me. All I got was this bizarre cryptic letter with an address in Johannesburg stating that my actual residential and my operating address was in Johannesburg, even though I'd never ventured to Johannesburg, but it was a Durban-based client. And when I asked my premier banker or private banker, whatever you call them at that point, exactly what was going on, I said, this makes no sense. Otherwise, I'd have a Johannesburg premier or private banker. She turned around and said to me, that's what the system reflects. So then I knew something was up. Someone was fiddling, in my opinion, with my accounts. But FirstRand, they have their own little bizarre setup. And they said, well, look, we're canceling your accounts. You must service your full credit line and you must pay it off. So I had to service that as an excess of like $500,000 overnight. And I cleared that out. And I said, look, you know what? That's a contractual agreement. Your right of admission policy, as far as a bank is concerned, is exercised, meaning that they can refuse you service. They don't have to give it to you. It's not obligated. There's no constitutional or legal mandate that they have to give you an account. Right, with FirstRand FNB. So I said, oh, how cute, from a bank that's originated in apartheid, now post-democracy, they're still calling the shots. But I said, look, so much has changed in this country, but yet remain the same. So I said, okay, fuck you very much. I'll take my money to greener pastures. This is when the story really gets interesting in the sense that for over a year, I could never open accounts. No institution could give me a real answer. There's always something bizarre about the way they responded. And, it's getting annoying now. I had to work and operate in cash entirely. And it's difficult, even in a country like South Africa at that point. This is about 2013. Then what had happened was my green ID book had gotten stolen. Actually, my bag had gotten stolen. So it was advertised. There was something called the South African Fraud Prevention Service. And I thought it was a government institution related to the South African Police Service. It kind of has a rhyme to it with SAFPS versus SAPS. And I said, listen, before any more hell arrives at my door, I don't want to go through the same crap I went through with FNB. Let me just, list myself proactively on their database to say, look, you know what? My green barcoded ID was actually stolen. That's when they come back to me and they said, hey, listen, you know what? By the way, you've been listed by FirstRand FNB and as a potential fraudster. So I said, oh, that's very interesting. I've never heard of any criminal charges. I've never heard of any criminal conviction, nor have I heard of a term of potential fraudster. Either you are a fraudster or there's an actual ongoing investigation against you. There's nothing such as a potential fraudster. You are innocent until proven guilty. It's quite simple in law, right? Even when it comes to known corrupt characters, it is what it is, but it's just not my flavor. So I said, well, okay, fine. I said, but you do understand that you have to subscribe to the National Credit Act, number 34 of 2005. I said, even as the South African Fraud Prevention Service, you effectively are a credit bureau listing people without any goddamn legal substance or legal relevance. And you're just going ahead and listing people's names willy-nilly according to a bank's conclusion, right? Because apparently banks are gods now. So I said, okay, fine. You know what? Could you kindly delist or remove that erroneous listing? And let's see what can be done. They put up a fight. Good Lord. I had to refer it to the credit ombuds. Then I referred it to the National Credit Regulator. Then I had to motivate the public protector, which thankfully was actually led by Tuli Madonsela at that point, and it was highly competent, and they knew exactly what needed to be done as far as a Chapter 9 institution was concerned. So I said, okay, fine. At that point, a journalist had approached me, and they said, look, I see you've been bitching and whining effectively on Facebook about this e-bucks matter, and, what a grand travesty it is. And I said, okay, fine, you know what? Let me just tell you my story. And I didn't realize Facebook was catching on so intensely, like kind of how TikTok has caught on during the COVID period. And he put up an article, and it got super shared. I mean, it was like 9,000, 12,000 shares. I didn't even know. So effectively, back to the National Credit Regulator, they mandated that FNB come up with proof of the fact that they actually know that Mr. Chan is an actual fraudster. Otherwise, remove your erroneous listing or your illicit listing or defamatory listing, and just go on your merry way. They agreed to do it. So not a problem. But then they noticed that this particular article that's doing its rounds on Facebook is hurting their brand. Did they actually come up to me and say, hey, Mr. Chan, you know what? We'd like to apologize for the cock up. And no. Their team got even more devious, and they doubled down. They motivated 7 charges of fraud with the SAPS and the NPA against me. So I said, okay, you think you're clever, no problem. That dragged on from 2014, or round about that period, 2014, early 2015, up till the middle of 2017, when the charges were dismissed. And mind you, they were so stupid in their actual falsified evidence that they supplied to the NPA, which is amazing, huh? According to the Criminal Procedures Act, banks don't even have to come up with an expert report or an independent third-party expert report to submit what they consider to be the gospel's truth as evidence. And they can just make it up, or they can omit exonerating pieces of information. They did both with me, in fact. And it pissed me off intensely, because they came up during pre-trial of those particular criminal charges. Mind you, my life has been railroaded. I've spent an egregious amount of money on legal fees just to defend your reputation, because that's all you have in life. Quite frankly, you can tell yourself you have money, you have bloodline. It's your reputation. What you say is what you mean and what you do. And that's exactly who I was. And, I had a great deal of trust in significant investments, and it just got blown out of the water by these assholes. And without warrant. Why? Because you're a shitty bank. So they came up with what they call an alternative dispute resolution. It's called an ADR. And they said, Mr. Chan, apologize and remove all of your social media listings, and we will forgive you. And hey, guess what? We'll withdraw your 7 charges of fraud against you. I said, fuck you very much. I'm taking it to trial, and I'm going to win. Everyone laughed at me, and I won. So at the end of it, I said, no. I said, you know what? This deserves an actual lawsuit here. This deserves a civil claim on the quantum of loss, just the absolute bombastic defamation of my character. And you need to know this. So that's why I launched it. Now, the purpose of this particular whole video is quite simple. I want to know who else, former, current clients of FirstRand FNB, have been caught up in situations wherein the bank has lied, cheated, and stole. Please let me know. DM me, email me. You can tweet me, NavChan. It's on X/Twitter. And you can also get a hold of me on Facebook. Good talking to you.